was the new history teacher of the school, and she was preparing her first lesson. In her mind for weeks, this was her first teaching job, and he wanted it to go well. The night before classes start, she could not eat and tossed and turned all night. She woke up early and was in her new classroom, sweep the floor, tidying the tables, and installing the welcome signs just after dawn. Finally, the first bell rang, and her very first class came rushing in through the door. They were eager and lively and full of high spirits. She felt her heart lift at the sight of their fresh faces, and soon a lively dialogue between teacher and new students was established. They liked her, she could tell, and they were smart too. She tossed review questions lightly at them to see how much information they'd retain it from the previous grade, and they were prompt to answer. And most of the answers were correct. One particular lad, sitting in one of the front desks, was particularly knowledgeable about history. She was impressed by his answers, and more impressed by the fact that she did not push herself forward as the class know-it-all. She answered quickly and quietly, and let others take their turns. He had bright blue eyes and curly dark hair, and his smile was impish. He smiled a lot, soaking in information like a sponge. The teacher smiled at him and tossed out another history question, seemingly at random, which he answered promptly after a pause, indicated no one else knew how to respond. At that moment, the bell rang. The teacher smiled as she heard it. Her very first class of her very first day as a teacher had been a success. Then, to her surprise, the curly-haired boy in the front row got up promptly from his seat and hurried toward the door of the classroom without waiting for her to dismiss the class. That seemed strange after his polite behavior during the class. She opened her mouth to reprimand him and then gasped as he walked straight through the wall beside the door and vanished. The teacher felt her eyes widen and her mouth go dry in shock. Around her, the living students exclaimed in shock and fear. "Did you see?" shrieked one of the girls. "Did you see? He went right through the wall. A ghost." He was a ghost. The boy sitting next to the ghost shouted, banging the desk in his agitation. It was pandemonium in the room for about 5 minutes as first graders screamed with excitement and fear, while students registering for the next grade tried to figure out what was going on. The teacher sat on the edge of his desk, feeling weak and dizzy. By the time a student brought him water, he had regained his composure, enough to skip first grade and be welcomed into second grade. The new teacher noticed while eating lunch, the school building was known to be haunted by the spirits of students who died too young. Footsteps were heard after hours, caretakers reported. The sound of children talking and laughing in dark classrooms. And sometimes I felt invisible presences rushing through the empty corridors. But he was the first teacher to see ghost students in her class. The new teacher left the school after the first day, in a contemplative mood, therefore. This was the training of eager students, warlike students. Funny students and a soul do not know what the day will bring, she asked aloud, and then shrugged her shoulders and went home for dinner.